Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me.
Today's message is called, Your Attitude is Showing the Law of Cause and Effect. Last week we talked about the law of unity. How we each are a whole within a greater whole. And I told you that we are not dogma free. That we do have that one piece of dogma here. That in order for this philosophy to work the best for you, for anyone, we need to entertain the idea that God is all there is. That God is indeed omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. So, on our t-shirts we have the words dogma-free zone. Well, as you can see, it's not quite true. And I hate to break it to you, but I've discovered another piece of dogma that I need to share with you. And that is that one needs to begin to entertain the full understanding of the law, the mental law of cause and effect, in order for this to begin working for us. This law of cause and effect parallels the law of cause and effect in nature, and it is critical to us to learn how to work with it in order to make our lives really flourish. That we actually have a whole bunch of say in how our lives unfold. Because there is the underpinning, yes, there is the spirit, the love of one's heart, the light and the peace and the joy and the goodness. There is that each of us has within us, and we're surrounded by it. But there is also the way spirit works through law. The law of cause and effect. Now we have a great example of natural law of cause and effect going on right now with autumn. The earth is tipping its axis away from the sun, so the northern hemisphere is experiencing shorter days, cooler temperatures, less light. And then there's another cause and effect going on there because the trees, because there's less light, begin to send the message to their leaves to change colors to gold and red, beautiful fall colors. So the law of cause and effect is at work everywhere around us. Oh, and I discover a new law. It's called the law of driving your car over your computer. And I'm a minister. And the law of cause and effect works even for me. That when you back your car over your computer, there are going to be unwanted consequences to that computer. Does anyone dispute this law? Okay. Well, you see, there's a mental law of cause and effect that works exactly the same way. It's a little slipperier because the effect is not so quickly and easily linked to the cause. But for any of us who have experienced lack of any kind, lack of wellness, lack of love, lack of money, lack of harmony, there is within us some kind of thought pattern that we have accumulated. No one goes after this thinking, boy, I think when I grow up I'm going to be poor. That's not the way this works. But if we grow up thinking and believing that I don't deserve money, or I'm not smart enough to get a good paying job, or whatever it is, or if we have a mother who models chronic illness, we can ingest this idea that the human body can succumb to illness, and we find ourselves in poor health. Now, please do not take this as blaming yourself. And if anyone says the words, "What's in your consciousness?" you're allowed to hit them.
Yes.
Of course, the effect of that is that you could go to jail for assault. So think carefully about that. But there is the law of cause and effect that is at work in our mentality and in our lives every moment of every single day. So that's what we're talking about today. You know, a lot of us, I struggled for years around money, and that's what we're talking about this October. And we're not afraid to talk about money. One of these days I won't be afraid to talk about sex either, but right now it's money. I struggled for a long time with money. I had leaky pockets. Money drained out of my life faster than I could keep up with it. And I started digging around to see what was in there, and I discovered some history that had planted itself in my psyche that said, I can't be trusted with money. I had lost some money when I was a kid and was punished consistently and for a long time after that, and labeled as the one that she can't be trusted with money. I embodied that. I took that in as the truth about me. And so for a good part of my adult life, I could not hold on to money. But then I began to sift through it and see how this chain of cause had connected with what was happening in my life, and I began to consciously change that idea. And so now, not only do I have money, but I have plenty to share, to spend, and to have. So our philosophy is all about finding a different way of doing things. First of all, taking responsibility for that happening in our lives. I used the analogy of a pencil in my practitioner class the other day, and that is that, you know, the now moment, the who you are in this now moment can be likened to the point of a pencil. Can you see it in your mind? The point of the pencil is the here and now, in your life, specific to your life. But you cannot write with the point of a pencil unless there is a pencil attached to it. Your entire history is like the body of that pencil. And so your now moment is simply the result of the entire life. The entire pencil is what allows the point to show up and to write. Your life is very much the same. So we have to go back and understand what is behind us. When we see out here what's going on in our lives, we have to go back and understand what's right behind us. What is it that's hanging out in my brain, my mind, my psyche that is controlling what I see out there? So this great law of cause and effect, the great mental law of cause and effect, shows up in several different ways. I'm going to touch on a few of them. And the first one is as a magnet. Have you ever heard of the law of attraction? It's a way of looking at the law of cause and effect. That the law acts as an attractor so that whatever is coming down the line of your life, based on the tendency of your thought, that you will attract that to you. So, I got a great quote here I want to read you from Ernest Holmes. Let me see, is that the right one? No. Here we go. Well, never mind. Never mind. When I just decide to step out and talk, then I should just let that be, because then I lose my place. So, what I was talking about was the law of attraction. And that if you want to know what is happening in your psyche, look at what's happening in your life. The second way of thinking about the law of cause and effect is that your life is a reflective mirror. So that what you see out there in your life from the point of view of the point of the pencil is reflecting back to you what is inside of you. The tendency of your thought. That's what the quote was about I was looking for. it will produce according to the tendency of your thought. That's why last week I said you won't see a change in your pocketbook by saying, I'm rich, I'm rich, rich, I'm rich 3 times. Because if the tendency of your thought is, I don't have enough, that's what's going to show up. Not, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. Not, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy. It's the tendency that we have thought up until now. I've been carrying around a chronic illness for 40 years. And it had me really, really low for a long time. And then finally, I just decided that it was not going to stand in my way. I was going to continue with the full life that I was meant to live here, despite it. And you know, there are no symptoms. I don't have any sickness from it. It is part of who I am, but I am not letting it drive me. So I am leading a healthy life despite. I've tried for years to, I'm cured, I'm cured, I'm cured. But what's happening is instead I'm leading a healthy, happy life. Who cares? Who cares? So this law of cause and effect is the most important thing that we can understand and embody in order to change our lives. Now, how do you do that? It seems a little daunting. Okay, you look in the reflecting mirror, or you see what you've attracted here, and then you say, that's something I don't want to keep in my life. How do I change it? You change it by unthinking that which has been thought. Let me say it a much better way than that. What thought has brought into being, thought can change. So if you recognize that you have a leaky pocket, then you begin turning that by finding something that will neutralize that thought, such as you begin carrying a $100 bill in your wallet and saying, I have money. Anytime I need it, I have money. And then you buy yourself some mala beads and you say an affirmation 100 times a day. The one I use that I'll share with you that I work with a lot is, I am enough, I have enough, I give enough, I am enough. I have enough, I give enough, I do enough, I am enough. And I go around my mala beads once a day with that. And what happens is that my life begins to reflect back to me a different picture. I'm not always running to catch up with things that I've tended to beat myself up about. I do enough. I don't tend to worry about money because I have enough. I don't worry about how much I'm putting on my card to commit to the center because I give enough. You see what I mean? I am enough. So when you retrain your thinking to believe that what's going to show up out there, the truth is that you are enough, you have enough, you give enough, you do enough. Or set your timer for 10 minutes and just give yourself that affirmation, an affirmation, whatever works for you, to change the tendency of your thought. It's like, if you have a bucket of water and you pour a bunch of mud in it, you're not going to be able to see very clearly that water. But if you begin by adding clear water a drop at a time, over time, that water's going to clear, the mud's going to settle, the water's going to clear. That's what we're doing all the time with the mentality that we have. And face it, you know, I mean, I've had 60 years of stinking thinking. So it takes some time to clear that and make it come clean. The mental law of cause and effect. So we can't let ourselves off the hook by saying, well, I tried it and it just doesn't work for me. It's the law. It works for you just as well as it works for me. It works for everyone, everywhere, according to the tendency of our thought. So what can change? thought. The third way that the law of cause and effect is apparent is it shows up as a magnifier. And that means that whatever we focus on is going to increase. So just try this experiment if you don't believe me. Think about someone you love and start focusing on their faults. Do that for a couple of minutes and see how your perception of them changes. Conversely, and I suggest you do it this other way instead, start focusing on what you love about them. Do that for 2 or 3 minutes and see what begins to emerge in your field of perception. This is the way it works. It's that simple, and it requires that much discipline. Turn away from that which you do not want to see. You can say, this is a fact. I am suffering from poor health. This is a fact, but it's not the truth about me. The truth is that I am healthy and well. The fact may seem that I'm in debt, but the truth about me is that I come from one source of complete, infinite givingness. That's the truth about me, not this. So you don't pretend that it's not there by saying it's all good. You don't do that, because that's spiritual bypass. What you do say is fact is not the truth. I focus on the truth of who I am and what I bring to the party. Let me check the clock. Okay, doing fine. So, it's really hard to evolve spiritually if you're worried about money all the time. Would anyone disagree with that? Okay, it's one of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy down at the bottom here of the survival. Those are the things we need for survival. And yet how many of us get stuck worried about income? So if we don't understand the law of abundance, the law of cause and effect, then how are we ever going to achieve the evolutionary spirit that we have come here to be? This is why we devote the month of October. Not so that the center can thrive necessarily, but it is because the center thrives when you thrive. And you thrive when your thinking is in alignment with the quality of God called abundance. Okay? So, I think that the aspect of God of abundance is the most important thing we can know about God, because it is at the heart and the root of everything. How are we to have abundant love if we don't know God to be abundant? How are we to have abundant health if we do not know the wholeness of God? How are we to have abundant life if we don't understand that God is life eternal? So carry that idea with you this week as you think about abundance. So last week I gave you a homework assignment. Did anyone do it? Yay! Tom did. Tom, I want you to, I don't know if you can follow me over here, but okay, good. Thanks to Marcia Chapman for her beautiful videography. It's on the website now. So our assignment was to think about 6 impossible things for our lives, okay? Tom, what did you find that was impossible for your life?
There were all kinds of things. Every day I got up in the morning and I thought, what are 6 impossible things to think about today? And one of the first things was, it's going to be impossible to think of 6 impossible things every day. But as I did it, over every day, it became really obvious how many limiting beliefs I have and how many ceilings I put on what is possible. Yeah. And so it was just it's a wonderful morning thing to do, is try to think of 6 impossible things, and you'll get a really good idea on kind of where you're setting your boundaries.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Anybody else? Can you think of an impossible thing right now? When I did this a couple of weeks ago with the Lexington Core Council, the church there, they thought about it overnight and they came back, and one woman in her 60s had learned that she had the belief that she would not ever fall in love again. And what I watched was just her coming to that belief. It opened her heart. She was able to then change it. Another woman found, to her surprise, that what was impossible for her was to run a 10K race. Now, absurd once she came up with that. So she's now training to run a 10K race. What is impossible is that I could flap my wings and fly to the moon. But short of that, really, what's impossible? Not a lot, right? I mean, in some form or another, you can come up with the most fanciful thing in the world. No, I can't flap my wings, but I could hang on, you know? If I wanted to do good works in the world, for example, I could go to Cambodia with Reverend David Alt and feed the children there. You know, there is always a way to find possibility where our minds think there is impossibility. So your homework assignment for this week is to dream a really, really big dream for your life. And dream a big dream for this center. And then ask yourself, is this possible? If so, what's not possible about it? And you'll come up with a lot of things that you and only you can change. So, as I'm thinking about abundance and I'm thinking about what the true meaning of that means, do you remember the Peace Pilgrim? This wonderful woman between 1953 and 1981 walked back and forth across this country, 25,000 miles. She carried nothing. She had no money. Her vow was that she would be a wanderer until humankind found peace, and that she would walk until she was given shelter, and that she would fast until she was given food. Now, the abundance of that life is extraordinary. She touched the lives of thousands of people. She visited 1,000 or more different places. Truly an abundant life. So it doesn't mean you have to be wealthy to be prosperous. But it is also possible for you to be wealthy and prosperous. It really depends on what you've come here to do. Who have you come here to be? How have you come here to serve the world? And then we turn to the universe that always says yes through the law of cause and effect, and give it a big thing to say yes to. I want to do this. I wanted to start a ministry here. And we had $1,500 to start a ministry. So we tithed it to the universe and said, okay, we know we're going to need 10 times that. I said, Spirit, you got me here. This is my soul's assignment. You better fund it. And we did it. We did the work. We sent out letters to everybody we knew, and we got back $26,000. More than 10 times that. Because this was a divine idea that God could say yes to, that the law could put into place for the powerful nature of this work. I say there's a work inside of each of you. It doesn't have to be starting a center. It doesn't have to be walking 25,000 miles across the country. But there's a big yes for you in your life. Dream that this week. And come back and tell me about it next week. Thank you. So let's take that into prayer. As I just remember what this thing is that I call God. Yes, it is the impersonal nature of the law of cause and effect. But that's just the way it works. The spirit of the universe I know as love, as goodness, as my personal partner in this adventure together. The divine side of who I am that is always lifting the human side up, carrying me through the next day and the weeks and the years, keeping me focused on who I've come here to be. And that is the God that I recognize right now. Spirit, love, joy, peace, harmony, order, abundance, that which is the underpinning of my life and the lives of everything, everywhere. So recognizing that God is power. And then I step into that power because it's all of me. What can I be other than the power of God in action? What can I possibly be but the abundance of God revealed to the world? The joy of life brought forward. What else can I be? But the allness of God poured into human form. And I know that is true for every person everywhere. Every life form everywhere. In fact, every form everywhere is just simply the trickster God having formed itself into that. So everywhere I look, I see God. Everywhere I look, I see plenty. I see abundance and love and joy, peace and harmony and order. And because I have the courage to stand in that, I see it reflected back to me in my community, in my city, in my state, in my world, a little bit more. I can look at the facts that I read in the newspaper or on TV and say, yes, you may be fact, but you are not truth. The truth about this world is that life is eternal, love is eternal, prosperity is here for all of us, and that I stand for. That is my life. I claim that truth for every person here. Light and more of it, life and more of it, health and more of it, joy and laughter and love and companionship in great abundance. I know for each person here, the breaking down of all things that seem impossible, and the way is shown for that which is indeed possible and likely with a simple shift of thought. I claim for each person here the discipline to change our thinking in order to reflect back to us a life that is more fully reflecting the true nature of God. And I'm so grateful for this truth. I'm so grateful for this life that I lead. I'm so grateful for the people in this room and hearing my voice, because together we are a gestalt for God. And I'm so happy for that. So I release this word into the law of cause and effect, knowing that I have given it a bigger thing to say yes to. And I trust it just as surely as I trust that when the earth tilts, fall comes. As surely as I trust that the sun rises tomorrow, I trust this. And so I release it, I let it be so, and I invite you all to say with me, and so it is.